Welcome to Splunk Talk, the only podcast that's all Splunk and no junk. I am your host, Burch, with my co-host,
Hal.
There we go.
Thank you.
Hal, we're alive at the end of this wonderful event.
Did you get
hanging in there
enough caffeine today?
Did I get enough caffeine? I think I loaded up on all the caffeine about 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to be okay now. Okay.
I'm going to make
You said you were about to fall over.
Oh, I'm going to fall over. When the
crash.
cameras turn off, what people don't see is that I will fall out of this chair and just curl up in a corner and nap.
Okay. So
because this has been a very busy, awesome event.
Okay. So we could have them, y'all keep rolling after the end and tell him that we're done, but we'll still be.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. It'll be fun.
Okay. So.
But we made it.
We made it.
Here at the end. .conf22. I mean, it's a whirlwind. I wish that everybody could come.
I do.
So, I mean, but that said,
let's try to bring a bit of this to them.
Yeah. I mean, this is amazing. We're everybody in a room together.
Yeah.
Experiencing these things.
What did they
interactivity? I love that.
What did they say we talked about on the first one? The difference between this and the virtual is the high fives and the hugs.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that was Garth Ford, I think, that said that during the keynote part.
Speaking of keynotes, I saw the keynote this morning, Mr. Adam Savage.
Yes.
I took some notes on that. He had some
too.
statements that I thought were really awesome. I want to highlight those.
Okay. You're welcome to.
We can dance around hitting up some of the breakout sessions that we went to.
Okay.
And let's highlight some of the accoutrements.
Okay.
That we got to.
Now, I'm all accoutrement.
You're all accoutrement.
Yeah.
I'm just ma.
So, well, when I go to a show like this, whether it's ours or other conferences, I'm all about the show floor.
Yeah.
I'm all about interacting with the people with no schedule, no agenda.
You're a man of the people.
I'm a man of the people. Sure. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I like it here. I mean, we are, this is Splunk Studio. We're in the middle of the show floor, and y'all can see some stuff behind us, people walking by. This is actually my place. This is where I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I love the breakout sessions. I never attend as many as I want.
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped trying at some point because I'm like, I'll just go watch those later maybe, but I'm going to go talk to the person that built that thing, or that person that is responsible for doing that thing. And yeah, those are the conversations I love.
I think it's such an amazing event when you're here. Like, you learn so much so fast, and you walk away with like so many things that you're like, oh, I can't wait to implement this. I can't wait to try this. I can't wait to prove out the idea.
Yeah.
It's just always such a good event.
Yeah.
Okay. You see any cool breakout sessions though, despite saying like you're hanging out here?
There's no, but there's 3 that I was paying a close attention to.
Oh, yeah?
And I know all of the content in one of them, or in 2 of them, and those are the ones that I'm like, oh, was it successful? Did you do it? Because I was the session, the content
like
reviewer.
the platform super session, which I think was on while we were on.
Yeah, exactly.
On the first day.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff was covered in that?
That was the everything new in one of the 3 areas of the company. So we have the 3 different product areas. For those who aren't aware, we have security, observability, and platform.
Very cool.
So I'm one of the platform guys. I focus on the platform area. So the platform super session demo, I helped the marketing folks and the PM folks and everybody build that out. So that was exciting.
So you're kind of a big deal.
I'm not Birch.
You're a man of the
not
people.
A Birch deep kind of.
Oh, okay.
Sure. But no, so everything announced on the platform side, what's new with Splunk Enterprise, we have federated search for S3, the new search and dashboard experience and edge processing coming soon, those are some of the things that I knew the most about. Ingest actions, shipping, that stuff. So really passionate about those things.
If you had to pick one of those platform highlights and say, we have a lot of very technical fans, 2 of them, and if you were to tell them like, oh, you got to check out this feature, get your hands on it and play with it, is there one you'd recommend?
I would say, okay, so customers have to make a decision with the core platform. Do I bring this data into Splunk or not? And they have to make a decision because often there's a cost associated with that.
Okay.
So if you don't know the value of that data yet,
and not just like a license cost, like there's a physical cost, like you only have so much
there
storage.
could be several aspects to that. It could be an internal project that takes work.
Yeah.
Right. So the things that we do in the GDI area,
getting data in.
Yep. That is what it comes first.
Okay.
Right. So you think about, okay, data coming in, how much work is it going to take to bring this data in?
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, okay, well, am I going to be indexing that data? How much is it? If you're on an ingest license, and you got to think in those terms. And is this going to be a big deal? Is this going to be a big project? What is the architecture of this solution? So anyway,
Yeah.
that is just in my mind, the answer to the question is data manager.
Data manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
So data manager, if you've not heard, it's where we're basically taking the way that you bring data into Splunk. Primarily, we're starting with cloud solution providers, so thinking AWS, GCP, Azure. We're making that easier, a lot easier.
Oh, yeah?
So this is something that you look at and you think, okay, this feels native. This feels exactly like a SaaS ought to work.
Oh.
So we're providing a service. We're providing you with the automation bits that you need to apply to your own stuff. In AWS land, let's say that you've got data in CloudWatch, for example, or CloudTrail, and S3 and all that stuff. We'll give you, after you answer some questions, we'll give you some artifacts that you paste in your console over there, or check into your code base over there, and then the data starts flowing in.
Oh, cool. So you got the Splunk side where it's a little more point and clicky, less steps. You got the cloud side where you now take what we tell you to do and you just can plop that in.
Or customize it to your needs as well, because it's a bit of code. So going, kind of infrastructure as code. This is a piece of that infrastructure that you could apply.
Oh, very cool.
It is pretty cool. Yeah. So that's one of my favorite ones that I'm excited about.
Does that data come in like over the HTTP event collector primarily?
Yeah, primarily. Yeah.
Okay.
Perhaps exclusively right now, but that's a complication that implementation thing that might change.
That's cool.
But yeah,
that's pretty
basically
scalable.
Comes in over hack.
Oh, very nice.
Very scalable. Exactly. So you could do terabytes of data a day, but think about having to not configure all of the things to do that and the way that we've done it in the past. So it's a new way to bring data in.
When I've been on the AWS side, been a little like stumbling, because I'm not an expert in AWS by any means, but
yeah, we all know that.
Stumbling through on like, what do I click? And
not an expert in much.
I'm so little expertise. But yeah, it is nice to know there's more of like a copy paste, then you got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
What about you?
I had my sessions.
Okay.
Happy to talk about those. But the one that I was like really, really excited for, because I'm such a geek.
Okay.
Do you want to guess what it was?
No.
The Founders.
Oh,
session.
I missed that one. How was that? They interviewed Rob and Eric.
That's right.
How was it?
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
Okay.
It was so fun that you could tell like the two of them. The four of them were kind of upstage, up on stage and just relaxed. And
were they drunk?
Time. No.
Actually, not drunk. Okay. Hey.
Not.
It happens.
I mean, like they are such stars. They could be some level of drunk, and we would never know.
Probably.
But no. And that I know you're saying because like this is part of the like scrappy start of Splunk.
That was the start of the startups.
Yeah.
Right there. There were those people. So
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was like it was. So
it felt a little bit like a homecoming.
A little like a homecoming.
Okay.
They were kind of like relaxed and hit a point where it was like, oh gosh, we're gonna run out of time because like we still have some things we want to cover. They had some slides, and I'm such a geek. I'm sitting there taking photos of old screenshots of old versions of Splunk.
I did something similar with the Adam Savage. Keynote actually.
Yeah. But it was really cool.
Neat. That's neat.
They were broke.
Yeah.
Like before this started, they said they were instead of eating meals, they would get the free like milk at a Starbucks.
Oh no.
And mix it with sugar packets.
Oh no.
And like that would be their meal. Like they had nothing.
Oh my.
Yeah. But boy, we've come a long way. It was that one was really great.
That's cool. That's awesome.
I had my sessions, best practices and better practices for admins, and best practices and better practices I'm sorry, not for admins, for actionable alerts.
Okay.
And for developers.
Actionable alerts. Tell me more about that one.
So it's following a story that I went through when I was a customer of how we went from spam to glam.
Okay.
We just had a really noisy system, and we tried a lot of different things, a lot of things that wouldn't work for us. And we just would try something else and try something else. And so we talk about like, just a raw search, adding a static threshold, maybe making it like relative using like averages.
Sure.
Then using like min and max, but going to percentiles.
Sure.
And then I even like point out there's some cool things you can do in ITSI that really simplify that. And then bring it home.
Adaptive thresholding.
Thresholding.
Anomaly detection.
Yeah, and you nailed it.
I know a thing or two about ITSI.
Yeah. I like our one of our older missions was to make machine data usable, accessible, and valuable to everyone.
Yes.
And so I joked that ITSI was like making actionable alerting easier, accessible, valuable,
Okay.
usable
Yeah.
for
No,
everyone.
that's fair. That's totally fair. Good deal.
So democratize that.
And it ended there. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So what about for developers?
I just stood there and had them watch me. I didn't actually say anything.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Does that work?
Yeah. No, that one was cool.
Who
we
does
do,
that?
We
What's the,
do like a little orientation of the world of developer. Talk about like some best practices when building apps and some best practices around Splunk base.
Okay.
Right, a great place to distribute the apps. Dabble in some cloud vetting, that kind of thing. But
What is cloud vetting?
cloud
Tell
vetting.
them, not me.
Oh, okay. Cloud vetting. So all apps effectively or essentially will natively work on Splunk Enterprise. But because Splunk Cloud is like, hey, we're doing a service here, we got to make sure that you're not going to, tear down the environment or do something bad.
Like what happens if I have a binary I want to ship in an app in Splunk Cloud? Can I do that?
Well, I am not proficient because, as we've established, I'm not an expert on anything on each of the individual like checks that we do. But there are checks for things like that, so that we could make sure, like, oh, you have this binary. Like, we might reach out to you and say, hey, can you tell us the source code for it? Can we like compare? Like, make sure that it's.
We have to vet it because we're providing a platform.
Yeah, we don't want you to hurt
secure
yourself
for customers, and
Yeah. And so that's cloud vetting. It's like once you got the thumbs up on all
Can I
these
mine
things,
Bitcoin in an app?
Can you mine Bitcoin? I don't know.
I'm not saying that I want to do that.
Yeah, but I think you do want
Could
to.
I?
I bet you could.
Okay.
I bet where
I'll
there's a where there's a will, there's a way. But yeah, talked about those things. So one of the key things that I like to tell people about Splunk development is that I think a lot of us don't realize that we're developers. We're just like, oh, I built an app because I had to do this thing.
Yeah.
But I don't consider myself a developer.
Okay.
I'm just a person who
And
uses Splunk.
can relate there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been that type of person where I know the lingo. I can, I could play a developer on TV.
Well,
I can
for
read
sure.
code.
You were a
in any
developer
code.
evangelist.
I know. But I never considered myself a software engineer, a software developer. That was not actually the way my brain works.
Right.
Systems, I can do systems architecture and engineering.
Yeah.
But there's something different, and I don't fully know how to describe it. And this is related to what you're talking about.
And that's why
the builder takes
yeah.
pieces and puts them together. The developer is doing it's like maybe a next level of abstraction deeper.
Yeah. And I think you just nailed it, that term builder.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing I really latched onto, this idea that, like, we build things in Splunk. And we identify with the fact that, like, yeah, I built a thing, and I shared it with people. But that happened to be an app.
Yeah.
But I don't consider myself a developer.
Yeah.
And so by calling ourselves builders, maybe we'll be able to help us all out by providing the resources that we used to target to developers.
Yeah.
And now saying, like, yeah, it's not really developer only. It's for you.
So give me one example of a best practices that you would advise to a builder.
Well, the first thing that popped into my head was just that, like on Splunk base right now, the way it's set up, you want to get the folder name for your app correct. As in, you won't be able to change it once you submit the app.
Okay.
Okay, and by transitivity, that means that in the app.conf, the ID field has to match that. So you want to get that short name. You can change everything else about it.
Okay.
But that's the one thing you're not going to be able to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No curse words in the
No
folder name?
curse words. No.
Okay. Do we check for that?
We do. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I literally, me and Steve on my team, we when a new app is submitted, we check it. We actually download it and check for curse words, among other things.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about Adam Savage's
let's do it.
closing keynote? All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, first of all, wow. I've never been that close to Adam Savage before, and he's a legend.
He's a cool guy.
So that
He seems down to earth, too.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I feel like when you say that about an actor or a public personality, is it an act? Are they really that way?
Oh,
they're a really good actor.
I think he's that way.
Maybe that's an act. Oh,
Yeah.
no. Maybe it doesn't matter, but I know, I get it. I really appreciate
I think the injuries he talked about having show that he,
yeah.
He's willing to get his hands
like
dirty and break them.
slicing and-
The thing with the finger.
Yeah. But that was cool to have his experiences of, where he came from, how he got there. Was there anything that kind of jumped out from his story that you thought about?
I took down a couple notes. He had some.
Killed my microphone.
He had a couple.
Keep going. I'm good.
Quotes here that I thought were universal. One of it was like he said, I forget. He was talking about when fonts started to explode.
yeah.
And so like it used to be.
Should we tell them?
Go ahead. What?
No, I mean, so should we tell them what he said about fonts?
Well, I have it right here. He said, it hit a point where there were now so many options with fonts. He said, at that point, like anyone can use any font,
And
right? So like you want to make a document, well, great. Now
Yeah.
anyone can use any font. But the problem is now everyone can use every font.
yeah,
And it reminded me of something we used to say all the time. Like people would be like, oh, can I do this thing in Splunk? And I'm like, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it.
yeah.
Just because you can use any
The
font
Jeff
doesn't mean you should
Jeff
use.
Goldblum quote. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, is that Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah, from Jurassic Park.
Oh.
Something to the effect of the scientists never stop to think.
But should we?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, exactly. Yeah. And I hear, and in fact, I had an interesting conversation with a customer immediately followed by a product manager over here in one of our booths, and they were describing the way that they solved a problem. And this product manager was like, I hear you. Yeah, that's a problem. I want to say that it was related to getting time zones on a dashboard because this person, their audience was across the world, and
Right.
and the way that we had built a particular feature didn't make that easy to do.
Yeah.
So what he had done was he had a search that did this, and then he had it. So it was like multiple round trips to get the answer to stuff the time zone into the string that, and the PMM, he gets it. He wants to do the right thing here, but he's cringing inside at the same time because he's like, that's not the way I want you to do it.
Yeah.
I want to do this, but I don't want to help you do it that way. I want to do it the right way. So that's the opportunity that our product organization has and the challenge. It's like you listen to the customer, you hear what they want. They said they might have been very specific about what they want, but is what they want, is that the right thing for the right way to do it for the most people, best bang for your buck?
That's one of my favorite things.
Interesting evolution.
Someone's like, hey, how do I make, this one, let's say time zone, like, how do I get this time zone to appear on the dashboard right here? And I love taking a step back and going, okay, what you're describing is very fragile.
Yeah.
Right? You've created a very convoluted thing that might break very easily, and now you're going to spend more time administering it, keeping it up to date.
Yeah. It's easy to laser focus on the solution and not be able to step back.
Especially
and think
when you
about
get so close. You're like, I have the time zone. I just need to get it on here, right? But I like to take that step back and go, what is it we're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Not what are we trying to implement, but we want them to know what time zone. Oh, okay, well, what if we approach it in this totally different way and get the same outcome?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that. That actually segues nicely because one of the other things Adam Savage said was, it seemed like a good idea at the time. And he was pointing out, like, you come up with these plans, and then, like, you find, like, you pivot. I mean, even look at, like, Splunk. Like,
was
they
it
had
Sun
all
Tzu
these
that said no plan ever survives contact with an enemy, or was that perhaps General MacArthur? I don't know who said that.
I think it was Kermit the Frog.
Okay, you could be right.
Yeah. So, like, nothing is planned. Nothing is pre-planned. And it's so interesting. Sometimes we come up with these very, great plans, but you can't anticipate everything, right? Hence bugs. Things happen, and you have to pivot. And I think sometimes we forget about that. That's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes we can accept that things are going to have to be decided as we experience them.
There's an interesting philosophical point there, or a spectrum of when that's okay and when that's not okay.
Yeah.
If at first you don't succeed, skydiving is not for you. So there are some times when you do have to get it right the first time. So there's a balance, right, between what you have to accomplish, what your mission is, what's your time frame, your resources. And I think a lot of our customers, they're probably usually they're not producing the space shuttle.
Yeah.
Some of our customers are literally producing the space shuttle.
That's true.
The majority of them are not.
Most of them are not, yeah.
We don't have a space shuttle anymore, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So we've got that, and then let's tie it back to Splunk, because one of the things that I always, like, this is what made Splunk so valuable for me, was that, like, I got very anxious in the world of, like, databases, because it was like, oh, you want to run these reports? Well, now you have to know the entire structure of your data set. You have to anticipate, like, what are all the valuable items you need, like all the columns. It's going to be fixed.
You have to understand the schema ahead of time.
It's going to be very expensive to change it later, so you better get it right. And then Splunk came along, and it was like, nope, schema on the fly, right? So you want to run a search, you can search on this data. You don't need to know what your plans are ahead of time, because sometimes when you get an insight, you then pivot and go, well, now that I know this, what else can I learn?
Yeah.
What about now I have a new question, right?
Yeah.
So none of that is pre-planned.
You're right. I mean, that is the core value proposition to what Rob and Eric built.
Yeah.
Was that. Because before Splunk, primarily, we were talking about relational database systems and analytics of any kind of data. There was one way to store it, and it was relational. And then there was an evolution, a sequence of technologies that evolved, and you had non-relational data systems, and we're just one of those kinds of systems. And actually we're a couple of them if you think about it.
Yeah.
We've got a KV store over here.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
So there's different aspects of it. But yeah, if you don't have to plan that schema ahead of time, that frees up and makes available to, going back to the old mission, right?
Yeah.
Making machine data accessible, usable, and valuable to everyone. Well, everyone, that's a pretty lofty goal.
Right.
Everybody that has the ability to log into Splunk,
Well,
they can do that now. They can put these things together.
And that's a really important point, like the everyone that you're getting at, because in my database world, like scenario there, like if you come to me and you say, well, I'd love to get an answer to this, I'd love to run this report, can you do that? Now you have to tell me, I have to translate that into SQL, I got to run a report or whatever, right? And so now there's like this game of telephone.
Did you ever have a printout of tables and how they joined?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the lines going from table to table.
Exactly.
So now you've got this layer of telephone, and what I give you may not be perfectly right, and you're going to just be like, well, it's too much work to like have them redo the report, and it takes too long. But with Splunk,
what if you can just change that SPL?
Right. We're letting everyone directly touch that data.
But we've been doing that forever. What is new? How does that change? How does that go forward?
You tell me.
Yeah. Well, I know there's some really smart people working on the evolution of where SPL is going. So
SPL2.
That'll be a thing.
I'm excited about that.
I am too.
Yeah.
I want to say yesterday in the studio, or maybe it was today no, it was yesterday in the studio.
I saw them over there.
I think that they did a session. I don't know what they talked about, though. Anna Mensing was interviewing Aditya Tamana.
Oh.
I know what Aditya is working on.
Yeah.
So one of the things he's working on is SPL2.
Yeah, he mentioned that to me. So that would be a great one to try to catch the replay of, the recording of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was actually the third of the three that I was kind of tracking was
nice.
What is it that Aditya is doing? That's what I want to know.
It sounds like a kid's book. What is it that Aditya is doing?
Yeah.
Speaking of not knowing what he's doing.
Okay.
Another.
I'm waiting for
my third of four
off.
quotes that I grabbed from him.
Okay.
He talked about demystifying the bicycle. He was, I went
that
to
was
bike
a moment.
shop and, yeah.
I mean, everyone. Okay. You could tell that he was our people at that moment. And understanding of a system, that was what it was about. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you nailed it. I love that because, for me, I can't, partially try to figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
I have to, either not touch it at all, or then I'm like, okay, shut every distraction down. I'm going to focus solely on this bicycle and figure it out.
Yep.
And demystify it, right? And now you're not scared of it. And I think that has multiple places where it kind of clicks, not just in life, but in Splunk. Again, with that everyone thing we were talking about, how can people not be so intimidated about data? And it could be their friend, their tool, their ally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that are like us, they have to internalize that structure of that data in order to do anything with it.
Yeah.
And then once you do, the world is my oyster?
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
I don't need oysters.
Clam? There's a saying here related to world.
The world
oysters.
is your oyster. Yeah,
okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
And I think the last.
What does that even mean?
The world is your oyster?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, I'm just reflecting on what I just said. That doesn't make sense.
Is an oyster a thing you crack open?
Yeah.
Maybe it's that.
But you don't. I mean,
it's a Forrest Gump kind of thing. You never know what you're going to get.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not my favorite. I like the Forrest Gump one better.
Yeah.
If I had thought about it, I would have used that one.
No, that was the Burch Gump.
Okay. Is there another one in there? What else?
Well, it was put the whole problem in your mind.
Okay. Yep. Definitely.
And that was part of the demystifying the bicycle. Fully invest yourself in.
And I think a little bit after that, he said something to the effect of that he was he wants to be able to build things, or he wants to enable people to build things, and it was kind of like the creativity can only flow when you have low barriers.
Yeah.
So kind of an anti-gatekeeper mentality.
Oh.
So I really identified with that as well.
That's a good point. I like that. I talk with people a lot about, they're like, oh, well, should we require people to take Splunk EDU before they can start using the product and stuff? And like you kind of reminded me of that because I often say like, no, just make a role if you want that has more restriction. Let everyone play. And
Yeah.
then the people that want to do more and come to you and say, hey, can you make my searches like run longer or
Yeah.
whatever? Those are the people you then are going to like, let's get them trained up. Let's get them brought in, with more
Yeah.
skills.
Well, I think there's probably some of our customers have 2 people that log in and use Splunk. Okay.
Yeah.
Some of our customers have
2,000?
5,000, 2,000
Yeah.
end users that are logging. I mean, that's amazing, first of all, and thank you to y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy to think about. When you get anywhere close to that scale, you have a maturity problem and opportunity, and you have to be careful because the further you go towards something that you might call maturity, sometimes the more locked down something, either must is not the right word because I'm not a must person, but the bigger things get, the harder it is to understand the system, and then some people want to control that system, and sometimes to an extent that might be the right thing to do,
But
might be the
sometimes that
required
makes
thing to
things
do.
worse.
But sometimes it makes things worse.
Yeah.
So what you don't want to do is you don't want to end up with the Splunk system itself losing the heart of what it was.
Right.
And that flexibility. So if you lock everything down such that people don't have access to, let's say that I am here and doing this, and I'm in marketing. I'm just making this up, and this person over here is in engineering, and this person's putting data into Splunk, and this person's putting in data into Splunk. They have to know what that each other has data, and they have to be able to see it and access it.
Right. But if you silo
The inverse
that,
is if
yeah.
you've siloed it intentionally and everyone is on a need-to-know basis. Now, I get it. Some of our customers literally are in a legally mandated need to, hey, that's cool. I get that. Outside of that, you have to be open. And I think it's that openness that allows the value, the amazing stuff to come out.
The thing I like to say is I think human behavior is like a stream in the woods.
Okay.
So you can try to build a dam.
Behavior is streaming with, yes.
You can try to build a dam to stop it.
Okay.
But the water will build up and go around.
Right.
You can't actually stop it. And in that sense, people are going to, if you're not going to let them do it in Splunk, they'll do it in another tool, and it won't be as good.
But knowing that, so now we're turning into some sort of sociologist and psychologist right here, but knowing that, what if it is your job to stop those humans?
I'm glad you asked. So here's what I do. Instead of trying to build
talking to our SOC analyst friends, right?
Instead of trying to build a dam and stop them, what if instead I put some stones strategically along the river's flow to nudge it to take the route that I want it to take?
Yeah.
So I have
make that a little. I get you.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit more practical or concrete
for our Splunk users.
Sure.
So I know that people are going to want to do things in Splunk, and I'm not going to try to stop them. But instead, I can provide limits. So, for example, I want everyone to be able to log into Splunk in my environment, right? So everyone has access. They have roles that are limited. Your searches will run, at most 60 seconds, what have you.
Yeah, there's some resource constraints you can.
Resource constraints, right?
Bottle it.
And I'll have them log in. They'll see like a welcome page. So like they get the resources that are going to be effective. I'll have like panels on there that show who on their team are the most active users, so they know who to talk to for help, right? So I'm putting those stones in the river to kind of nudge them to take the best practiced paths. And then when they come to me and they say, hey, I want to do more, I go, great, now that you have interest and passion, you're going to now go get education where you can be even more powerful.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm gonna invert that, and then I think we're going to have to close our for that. But what if you are in security, and it's your job to understand the security posture of your company's environment, and the ones that are creative are the ones on the outside trying to come in. So think about that, because so you might have to put barriers in the way on purpose. But what if you understand the barriers and the edges? You're basically, using that same analogy of that stream. You're like, I know water's going to come in over here and over here, maybe over here.
And maybe I leave those open so that when it comes in, I can.
You might.
So,
it becomes like on the honeypot.
That's exactly the word I was going to say, the honeypot.
Yeah,
So I know we have to wrap up here. We're in the last minute of conf 22. This thing is shutting down right now. We have the high honor
I think they're about to turn the lights off.
Any kind of final thoughts?
July
2023. Of 2023. I think we'll be right
back in Vegas.
Here. I'm excited for that. I think it was a wonderful event. Just a virtual kudos to our global event marketing team for once again pulling off something incredible.
Those are some pros.
And with a very short notice, we just did the virtual one in October.
Yep.
So we've got 13 months to see everyone again.
Yep. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, this has been fun. We'll talk to you again. See?
We're closing. We're closing this thing.
We literally closed this
The
bad boy down.
Thank you all for attending. And
That couldn't have been timed better, Burch.
I think I'll just say thank you for attending conf22, and we hope to see you again in July.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you.